inspiring you to set the marketplace ablaze in partnership with an awesome and limitless God. This is the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast, and this isn't business as usual. Here's your host and Chief Fire Igniter, Shay Bynes.
Welcome back to the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. This is your host, Shay Bynes, and our goal here is to inspire you to operate your business completely yielded and in partnership with our awesome and limitless God. Being a kingdom-driven entrepreneur is not the same thing as being a Christian who happens to be a business owner. A kingdom-driven entrepreneur is motivated by seeing an increase of the kingdom of God through the work that they do in business. And they are propelled forward by operating from the truth of Matthew 6:33. They seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, knowing that all things will be added. So that's why we're here. And I'm so glad that you have joined us today. Today's episode is sponsored by one of our kingdom-driven entrepreneur certified service providers, Ebony Trust. The growth of your relationship with God hinges on you understanding who you be. Until then, you will never be able to approach God the way your heart desires. The 7 ingredients contained in Ebony's complimentary teaching will help to set you on the path to understanding who God has called you to be and why that matters in the marketplace and beyond. You can download this free teaching at ebonytrust.com, and that's spelled EBONITRUSS, ebonytrust.com. And now on to today's guest. My guest today is Eric Skeldon, founder and visionary of Kingdom Warriors. Now, as a passionate storyteller myself, I love what Eric and his team are up to because they are focusing on creating world-class stories that impart identity and create impact. And there is such a need for more kingdom-influenced arts and entertainment, which, by the way, is not the same thing as overtly Christian media that specifically targets an audience of people who are already Christians. Now, before you think I'm devaluing Christian media, I'm not. This, in essence, is Christian media for an audience of people who are already Christians in business. I'm just simply saying that we need more kingdom-influenced media that reaches the masses, regardless of spiritual beliefs. We really want to impact the world with kingdom principles and invite people into the ways of the kingdom and the king of the kingdom by way of an encounter. Now, what's interesting about Eric's story is how his interest in video games and NFTs and blockchain and cryptocurrency and his desire for global kingdom impact all came together in such a beautiful and divinely orchestrated way. So in this conversation, you're going to hear how Eric went from idea to research and exploration to implementation to team development to launch in a rather condensed amount of time. I would call it a supernaturally productive amount of time. And you'll also hear about how Kingdom Warriors is already creating impact around the world. Now, my hope from this episode is that you will be encouraged to dream with God, that you will be courageous to take steps in faith on the things that he's placed on your heart, and that you are open to what is possible with others, because a God-given dream will require more than just yourself. Kingdom collaboration is where it's at. You know, that's a core part of kingdom culture and a core part of what we talk about here at Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur. So with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way so that you can listen in and enjoy this conversation with Eric Skeldon. Eric Skeldon, what's going on, man?
Hey, good to be here, Shay. Thank you. You're doing good.
Good. Glad to hear it. So it is 7:00 in the morning for you right now.
Yeah, we're on the LA time.
Early in the morning.
Getting used to this. So.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, okay. So a little background. So you invited me onto your podcast last year sometime. I think it was around summertime last year. And we had a great chat. I can't remember. I think is a podcast. It was, I don't know if you still do this podcast. It was like Kingdom Passive Income or Kingdom Entrepreneurship, Passive Income, something around there, right?
Yeah, Kingdom Passive Income podcast. And it actually just launched, it just launched on Spotify like this week. And I haven't even started promoting it. And so so I haven't even shared it with anyone, but I just.
So you were just doing these videos. So you were doing interviews and doing them because we streamed on Facebook. And so you were basically getting content together for when you were going to launch your podcast.
Exactly. Like that's been my journey, is like imperfect action. So we, part of the mastermind now is in faith-based mastermind. Like, you need to do a podcast, you need to do this. So I'm like, imperfect action. I'm like, I don't know how to do a podcast, but I know how to StreamYard to YouTube and my Facebook business page. So I just built a following on, Facebook and some YouTube. And I was like, so I was like, oh, well, I can stream there for now and then figure out how to do podcasts later.
I love it. I love it.
I finally just uploaded them.
That's so fun. So I reached out to you because so you and I were connected on Facebook. We did that interview and I noticed something. I didn't know much about what you did in business prior to being interviewed by you. But I started noticing that you were sharing things around cryptocurrency and NFTs and stuff like that. And that's something that, the Lord's been speaking to me about for a couple of years, from just an investing and a knowledge, gaining some understanding and knowledge around this area. So it caught my eye. But what was interesting, Eric, is that I just remember that I didn't think you were talking about that stuff when I met you. You and I had a chat behind the scenes. I don't even think that was a part of your world. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know if that was what was going on with you in business at the time that you and I spoke last summer. But suddenly I'm seeing these conversations and I'm watching things progress. And I'm like, there's a God idea up in here. Like, I know there's a God story. And so I reached out to you and I was like, can I talk to you? I want to understand what this Kingdom Warriors NFT thing is. And I want to hear the God story behind it because I know there's one. And so you and I chatted on Zoom, had a great chat. And that's how we end up here today. So,
and you're a Kingdom Warrior now.
I'm a Kingdom Warrior now. Yes. And so I thank you for giving me some understanding, some knowledge around this NFT stuff. It's one of those things. It's like it's interesting. Actually, let's do this because there's some people I've already lost them. So they're like, a who, a what? So I don't normally start here, but let's at least clarify this for folks. Can you please, Eric, express in as simple terms as you can what an NFT is?
Yes. So an NFT by definition is a non-fungible token, meaning that it's basically a cryptocurrency, but it is attached to a JPEG, a piece of art, basically anything, the art behind you, the art in your house, anything could be turned into a JPEG file. A JPEG file, it's basically like the files that are on when you take a picture. But obviously you want them high resolution, high quality. Most of the NFTs are in the market are profile pictures. So they're used as the base of the NFT. The photo is a profile picture, an avatar of like some animation or some illustration. And then, and so basically the way I try to explain it, some people, I explain it like a digital piece of real estate.
Yeah.
Like people, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I could just buy and hold it like a share, like, oh, so this is like a digital piece of real estate or like a domain. So think about this is called Web3. So the beginning of Web2, was you're buying domains. It was the .com era. This is the Web3 area. So you're buying NFTs, you're buying crypto, you're buying stuff on the blockchain. This is just a piece of art that's living on the blockchain, verified that it's the real piece of art, and a real number one of 1,000 or whatever, rarity on the blockchain.
And for those who are like, I still have no idea what he said, don't worry, because by the end, we'll give you a link and you can go and learn some more. Okay, but I want to talk about just this adventure of how like the God idea and how things unfolded. And I also want to talk about what you're doing, because what attracted to me, I realized it wasn't just the God idea around cryptocurrency. I could see what the kingdom impact and that kingdom influence looked like through the work that you're doing. So I want to talk about all that stuff. So let's start by you sharing with me when this idea even popped up. Like, what were you doing at that time in business? Where were you in life, and how did this moment come?
Yeah, so it was like totally just God just kind of, thrown me into this world of NFTs and Web3. And so I was doing some consulting for a freight company. And I was have a marketing agency, helping a couple clients do some marketing challenges, just basically helping people get their brand out there and build communities. And so I had a couple clients, and mainly just one big client that I was helping doing consulting, doing freight. And then God was it was about August of last year, 2021. about really just, I would say August. Really when I just jumped in, pretty like full, like I would say full time, like any hour I had that I wasn't like helping this freight company or doing my consulting, I was just in Discords, on Twitter, in the NFT hashtag NFT community. I was just studying, I was just living, like God just said, like go and like basically like do it, and like go like Joshua into the land of NFT world, because for some reason I was just so attracted to it, but I didn't know why. And I really, once I found these people were positive. A lot of them, there was a lot of solutions that need to be in this industry. There was a lot of darkness in the art. There was a lot of demonic stuff. There was a lot of giants in the land. But I saw God had a heart for these people because they were positive. They were looking for impact. They had money. They were willing to be like, they wanted to like basically make a more united world, a more decentralized world, a more free world where we can live and move money around. And I was like, these people are actually like, they have a lot of kingdom principles. They're still depressed. Like they're just seeking connection and belonging. I'm like, they're really just looking for the kingdom. And I was like, and then God just started having me, as I was buying a lot of projects, that I did like. There was good projects out there all over the world. I was buying projects, flipping some, holding some, making some money in the space. And I was like, and part of money making was a little part of like where I was attracted as well, because I saw there was like a wealth transfer, I believe, that was in Web3 and NFTs and just crypto in general. And so I was like trying to build some wealth in there too, along with, making an impact or figuring out what that looked like. So I just studied everything, and like kind of like a business consultant, you've done some consulting and stuff. I put like, the pros and cons of all the launches I was a part of all the projects I was a part of. I put what they did well when I went into their community. How did they make me feel? Like, how did they, after you bought, what happened? And I just started like taking a list, an inventory of like, and then God started, then from there, it was just like after about 3 months, I just started like getting this vision, and then constantly in my dreams, like I couldn't stop thinking about Kingdom Warriors. And like, I started getting this vision of like basically this guy going and taking territory and having this avatar of like these warriors. And it started with the idea of like Michael the Archangel, or like some type of like, like some spiritual warfare type, like angel, like avatar. Cause I'm like, nobody's doing this. I was like, all the NFTs are like animals. They're like apes, or they're
a
like
monkey
lions.
with sunglasses.
Yeah, it's all just animals. I'm like, dude, what if someone did like an amazing, like we hired the best artists and we just did like these warrior characters. And then and so I just, like I said, I wrote Habakkuk 2:2 says, write it down, make it plain. Nehemiah, he made a plan and he brought it to the king. And so I've really been just studying, and my mentor's been teaching me about that. So of course I'm just writing all this stuff down, not knowing I'll ever get this idea funded or get any traction with it, because I was still kind of, like making some money and consulting and stuff, but I wasn't doing like any crazy business. Like, it was, at the time, it was just a season where I'm just following God, resting, trying to make enough money to pay the bills, serve people. But I wasn't like having crazy breakthrough in finances or anything. It was just like, I'm paying the bills. I'm spending more time with my 5 daughters and my beautiful wife.
You said 5 daughters.
Yeah, $5.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
And then so do you want me to kind of go into like how the business got formed and like,
well, I do.
Funded?
I am curious about, yeah, we are going to go there, but I am curious about something. So as I'm listening to you, it's almost like NFT caught your eyes. Like, so you're kind of, just in your everyday doing your stuff, NFT caught your eye, and it was interesting to you, but then you felt it was more of just a passing interest. And so it's almost like you were this, like, okay, I think God might be in something in this thing. So you're exploring it. And then as you're going and exploring things deeper, even with, whatever the motivations are at the time, it could be, this could be a great money opportunity, money-making opportunity. Maybe that's what's going on here. And then as you're exploring that and seeing the opportunity there, you're also finding a community of people in NFT, and then noticing some things going on in the NFT community as a whole. And then it's like, it seems like it was like a little seed that just continued to grow as you were digging deeper and learning more and exploring and playing around with it a bit. Let me make an investment here. It's almost like things were being unveiled for you as you were going. At least that's how I'm hearing it.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, a lot of my mentors and God has been showing me is like, when you find your tribe, you kind of find your purpose. And I just found like in the NFT community, I found my tribe, and just kind of like, and obviously I want more believers and more people to become a part of the NFT community, just because I just think, it's just an amazing community, and it's like everyone should be a part of it. But at the same time, it's like those people like they're just like, I don't know, it's like God just gave me a heart for these people. And then it's very international. It's very, I've always wanted to do international missions in Africa. My dad is from South Africa, so I've been to Africa once, but my wife and I, when we got married, we're like, we want to go do documentaries in Africa and shine light on, things that are going wrong, that we can like raise money in America and be like solve problems. Like that was what we wanted to do when we got married at 22. And for the past 8 years, we had kids and life happened, and we're just having to pay bills. And so we never even got to do that. So now we're actually partnered with like orphanages in Uganda. We're getting more, and then we're able to like basically dedicate 10% of anything that our company earns and give back to. And then we also have basically like our big like why now we're building a kingdom video game that you learn kingdom principles, and you earn cryptocurrency through it that you can actually cash out. So by 2025, our big goal now as a Kingdom Warriors brand is to have where 1 million people in the continent of Africa are logged in, earning a full-time wage while learning kingdom principles, playing our game.
Wow.
So that's like
break
our big
that
goal
down
right
a little bit more when you talk about learning kingdom principles by playing a game. Share more on that.
So, when you play a game currently, like, some games they're like role-playing games, or they're shooting games, or different type of games. Our game is going to kind of be like a role-playing game that is like kind of taking you through like adventure, like making decisions, like learning kingdom principles, as in like decision making and like choosing the right thing. And so while you're going through that, you're going to be for just holding the NFT, you're earning a certain amount of crypto a day of a token that we're launching. And then secondly, when you're playing the game, you'll be able to earn more by like playing. And so we want to create like basically a kingdom game. And that's what we're in the process of, just getting more clarity, and like, how does this work for the first iteration? How does it work for the second game? Because obviously to build these games, it does a really advanced game where you're earning crypto in Web3. It's a lot of work, a lot of resources, but God, I don't think God's afraid of it. But we're just, we're having to start off with a easier, simpler game where you earn crypto. And right now it's just basically a hold game. So like you can stake, like basically like protect the kingdom, and you click a button and you stake your NFT, and you like earn crypto. So it's like, there's like right now the games are simple, but it's more about the passive income and like the idea of earning crypto for your NFT, like a piece of real estate.
Because you're creating an economic opportunity for those. You're just, talked about people in other areas where just by playing the game, they can actually generate more income through crypto, through that, than for what they might do, in whatever other job that they have.
And this is actually, we already have a model like in the Philippines. There's over 1 million people, like I think 2 million people who log in the Philippines playing a game called Axie Infinity. They earn a living wage, and the government's kind of like getting freaked out about it. Like,
I bet they are.
2 million people are playing this crypto game on their phone and and they're earning like enough money to pay their bills, so they don't need to go to work anywhere. So.
Okay, so now let me go back for a second, because I took you off on that rabbit trail for a minute, but I thought it was good. So you were talking about the images, and you were talking about how yes, there's like, there's some basic images here. There's some good stuff. There's some stuff that's not so great or whatever. But what would it look like to have like some really great images for NFT? Get some of the best artists and have just like excellence and some Kingdom Warrior type images. So I want to go back to there, because I want take me back to the part of the story where you're dreaming around the possibilities and how you then walked it out.
Yeah. So I would say I really, a part of me was like seeing just heaven in the metaverse. Like, what if we could build like a New Jerusalem, like a heavenly experience, I've been to the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C. And
I heard it's incredible.
I went through, and people like wealthy people, like the Green family, like Hobby Lobby, some of the Christian billionaires, they have rocks and stuff where they funded that whole place. Like, they just put hundreds of millions in there. And and they have a really cool experience of like just different parts of the Bible. They have Tyndale's Bible, people who translated got killed to even bring the Bible to America. Like, from Europe, all sorts of stuff. They have all the history and just experiences. But I know what God has shown me, the future territory where people like the billionaires that are not for God, they're trying to bring more evil stuff to the metaverse and try to reach the next generation, our kids, my kids. Those $5 I have, they play on Roblox, they play these games.
Yeah.
And so the next generation where they're reaching and taking the land is in the metaverse. Obviously, you see Facebook, Zuckerberg is, pouring billions into it. And so I was like, all right, well, God, what if we took territory? What if we took the land of the metaverse? And we're building like light and like hope and like stories, and we're building. But then I found out how much it like costs to like build the metaverse. I'm like, man, I was like, we're gonna need like $50 million, $100 million to build out like the metaverse like this. So anyways, once I started writing that down, and then I started like bringing it like more in, and then it was basically once I ended up pitching the idea to 3 people. And then the first 2 people were like, "Oh man, I really like it, but yeah, I think you probably need to get more done." Because the pitch deck was like actually really like, and this is what I'll say to people is like, it didn't have, your pitch deck doesn't have to be like crazy good. Like this was on a Google Doc, it wasn't that good honestly. But the third person, I just cast the vision, and the third person now he's my COO. He's staying here with me. We just met for the first time in real life.
Oh wow!
And he's he's here with his dad, and we're just we've been doing live together over the past 4 months in this, and he was, the cool thing is part of this, our hero's journey and our story. So we're doing a book. We're also we have a movie producer who's worked with Morpheus and Danny Trejo, and he wants to see this being a film. He's prophesying like, this is going to be big, Eric. I'm on your guys' team. Like I'm doing this just because God wants me to do this. Like this is the type of people that is attracting to this project because of the mission and the vision behind it. It's just like about bringing light to Web3 and to like arts and entertainment, but crowdfunding through. The cool thing about what I will say about NFTs NFTs is the best crowdfunding technology, meaning that you can launch a whole movement and the whole like arts and entertainment. You can even launch a movie through there, and people can have NFTs and have shares of the movie. So you can even assign like, hey, if this movie does $1 million, each of these people who own these NFTs will get a portion of that, of 20% of that $1 million or something.
Right.
And that's what's called utility. So you can, so basically with our NFTs, like people who are holders, like they're shareholders in this kingdom venture. And we're bypassing the venture capital firms. We're bypassing the gatekeepers who don't want this project to ever survive. But the people internationally are like, yeah, we want this to survive. Here, take us some Ethereum or take some cash. And yeah, I want to have an NFT in this. So this is why this even Web3, this NFT technology is a key to get past the gatekeepers, to build kingdom media, to build kingdom movies, to do kingdom video games. Because you notice there's no kingdom video games. There's only bad ones. And then movies, obviously some people are getting funded for movies, but there's a lot of Christian, really creative people, but they're not getting no projects funded. They're not getting nothing out there.
There's tons of opportunity in this area. Tons. Okay, so I love that. So this is pretty cool. So you are right now, where you are right now, because I know you traveled to California. You just met you said, is this your COO?
Yeah, COO, and he's, we're like the perfect pair, like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Like he's very like, he doesn't like social media. He's like, I would have never known like he would even be in a position to like partner in business. Like he was in this faith-based mastermind with me. His name's Andrew, and he's just like he was in LA, and he was like, before he was done movie sets and stuff and just helping out like as a actor, but he's just very like underground and like, and I would have never, through a mastermind, through mentorship, I basically was just telling my story, and then his fiance was like, hey, you need to connect to my fiance. He's like, because he was in LA doing all this stuff, but COVID happened, and then like he moved up to Sacramento. Basically, he received an inheritance from actually his mom passed away. And the cool thing is, part of the story of this whole idea is the orphan to king journey. The part of this message of identity that we're trying to bring in like heaven culture is in a non-religious way, is telling the story of an orphan to king that finds out his royal, like that he's royal blood, and he has to, there's an evil guy that basically took the throne fraudulently, and now he has to go and take the kingdom back. So the whole story of our book and stuff is this hero's journey that a lot of us can relate to, because he's going through the orphan tendencies and mindsets, and he doesn't believe in himself, but people like leaders are going to come in and start telling him like, hey, no, you're a true born of the king, and like you're destined to win, born for greatness. And then it's like this story of just reprogramming Romans 12:2, transforming your mind to where you believe that you are the son, son of a king, and you can go and take the land back and all that stuff. And so it's like this incredible story, epic story God has given us. And we have our writer. She's from Virginia. She went to like Bethel, like School of Ministry, and she's an amazing writer. I call her like the next C.S. Lewis. Her name is Jessica Madden. And we hired her and paid her to basically help bring this story into like high fantasy, amazing book. And it's like almost like 70 something pages in.
Wow.
It's getting, yeah. So through this first launch of the project, the book already got funded. The NFTs, we hired we partnered with an artist who has sold millions of art to Sony. So we can have an artist that's like, hey, look, it's not Eric creating all the art. I just had the vision.
Right.
I got an amazing artist who like actually does this stuff. Like he's worked with Sony, and then our developers worked with like Star Wars, Rogue One VR experience. He worked with Google, 3M, Disney. So like,
but where did all these people come from? I mean, Eric, so you put this vision out on a Google presentation. And you presented to 3 people, of which the third, I think you said the first 2 were interested. I don't know if they invested.
So the first 2, now they invested, and now they're like advisors, and they came.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
But the third one was one who was like immediately.
Yeah, he's like, I'm all in. How much money do you need? How much do we need to wire over? And he was just like, God has been telling me. He just came to this conference, this 100X conference, like a month before, that was all about dreams and visions and like saying yes. And like, So like when I presented this, he was like, man, I've been asking God for the perfect like way. Cause he's all about the arts and entertainment and getting past the gatekeepers. So this whole vision is like getting past the gatekeepers with bringing arts and entertainment to the forefront for the kingdom.
So then when he came on board, what that did is opened up a connection point to a lot of resources that were going to be needed for the vision. So he came packing with a whole bunch of resources. It wasn't just a financial investment or even a time investment. He also had people resources.
Yeah, because he brought in he actually connected us with the artist that was connected to Sony. And then I through another project I was invested in, got connected to the developer, Web3 developer from Australia who was, worked with Disney and Marvel and all that stuff. And so that's how we have a team that's worked with Sony, Disney, and Marvel, because like just like not two random connections. I call them God connections, but
yes.
And then the movie producer, he was in this mastermind as well. And then he was just like underground, like he doesn't promote himself, doesn't like, he's an older guy, like Jewish type guy. And I just friends with him because I'm like, I don't know. I just connect to people like that. And I'm like, I just like honoring the underground people that nobody knows about, but they're like super, like to me, I'm like, dude, they're doing like, these are legit people. I want to help them get to the next, like, even though he's not like, that's a legit, if you've worked with Danny Trejo and Morpheus in the film, like to me, and you're a movie producer, like that, but in the movie world, he's not like crazy big, but to me, I'm like, dude, I want to get you to, like, we want to do more movies with bigger funding and like, because it's been a lot of smaller independent films. Cause like I said, their movies they do are real, like they're what do you call it? They're like trying to do Christian media and getting funding for like $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million. But it's still, nobody hears about those movies.
Yeah.
Because they want to hear the Spielberg 50 million, 100 million Marvel movies. They don't know about the $1 million movies,
Right. So it's interesting. So really, this is ultimately a media and entertainment vision but it also has cryptos being used as a vehicle for funding, but also simultaneously creating economic opportunity. So it's interesting how all the things just play together, so nicely. I love that. So I'm curious, I can resonate with the whole, you met your COO. It's all, you end up in this business. I mean, Kingdom Driven Entrepreneurs started from a series of divine connection moments. And then I ended up signing an operating agreement with someone I just barely met because God was all up in it like that. You know how God moves sometimes. It's kind of wacky. So what has it been like for you? I mean, we're still relatively new into this journey, a handful of months in, like 6, 7, 8 months at this point.
It's only 4 months. We're 4 months year old. We're in 16 nations and 100,000 in revenue, and we're just turning up the heat to scale up.
Fantastic. So now, how are you all operating? So here you are. You find yourself in this way. I went from having just a curiosity around NFT to then investing in NFTs to then finding community that I want to see like God's light shining in to a media vision. How are you all, now that you have people surrounding you and it's not just Eric, how are you all collecting, or how are you functioning, and how are you collectively functioning to keep, to operate in this way with God at the center, to partner with him in the midst of what you're doing? Like, how are you guys collectively doing that? Not getting swept away? Because I mean, this is a lot of activity going on. So how are you guys functioning?
What God had us do, and one of our artists said we should do every Monday morning, we should give our first fruits and do like a gratitude and communion and prayer on Monday, first thing. So Monday at 10 a.m. PST, 8 a.m. PST, so 8 a.m. California time, because most of our team is in California.
Okay.
And so anyways, 8 a.m. Pacific, we do prayer. We've hired strategic, like prophetic intercessors, like actual real prophets, real like people that like go out and help, consult leaders and businesses. And so we've hired like a team of intercessors, and obviously a lot of our holders have become intercessors because they're holders. They have actually like a actual authority.
He says holders. He's talking about the NFT holders, people who holders in our shares or in our NFTs or what. And so they're basically, there's a lot of praying people involved in that. And then, but basically our team, like corporately, we get together every Monday and we pray, and like, it's powerful. Like we're just all sharing testimonies and gratitude. And really, you would think Monday's our busiest day, but since we've been doing that, God's has been showing up and giving us so much more vision and clarity, and like letting us, the grace over grind that your book did so properly. It's just saying that, look, God, this taking over the arts and entertainment mountain, it's not going to be just like a breeze. It's not going to be. It's not going to be a breeze. It's not going to. But if we can do it in joy, we can do it in rest. We can do it in grace. If we're in your favor, if we're in your grace, then we can do this. But we gotta have Holy Spirit at the forefront. We gotta have unity in the body. We gotta have just really good discernment and really good people watching our blind spots, because there is a lot of traps in the entertainment industry. So we just want to let God be at the forefront and just really guide us, because I believe that if we have access to all of heaven, one, we have access to all the resources in the world. And secondly, I think we have all the wisdom if we just really tune into what Holy Spirit wants for this. So that's what we're even here at this conference. It's like a week of clarity of God. We're 0 to 100K, in 4 months, and we have 60 nations that are like involved in this thing. So like, how do we steward? How do we best help this vision that you've given, and let it reach people, let it actually impact people? I mean, and let it continue, like, and how do we best grow? So that's basically just the heart. And a lot of our team, pretty much all of our team, is like behind it, to where like this is what we desire and what we feel like God is this, we know God's on it, but it's like, like you said, there's still so much activity. There's so much big things we want to do. We're hiring people. We have a pretty big team now. We have like 15 people working on this thing. And then, I would say like over 20 like volunteer like type people. Like, so there's like 15 people, and it's like a ministry, because we have like another like 10, 20 people who are like volunteers, just like helping out however they can. Right. And so, and obviously we have like 100, and so holders, like investors, we have like 100 and almost 50. So all those people end up being like, well, we want to see this project win. So they're like, we created a Kingdom Ambassador program where they can basically share the message, share, our free NFT education. They can help share our upcoming challenge that we're going to do, and basically just start advancing the kingdom. And so it's called Kingdom Kingdom Ambassador. So I bought kingdomambassador.com, and I'm like, look, kingdomambassador.com was free?
No, it was a premium domain.
Oh, okay.
I bought it. God had me buy that a year ago. That was
available to just pick up like that?
No, it was like a year ago. God had me buy it. And then finally I'm like, oh, well, now we can use it but it's cool, because it's like, it's like we're advancing the kingdom, but we're advancing kingdom warriors. But in a way, they're like some of even the people who aren't believers, they're like, oh yeah, well, yeah, we're kingdom ambassadors.
Exactly.
We're ambassadors of kingdom warriors to go out and share the message of this NFT project. But while they're there, hopefully, like the people are, while our goal is like, it's like the kingdom is so cool because people actually like the kingdom, and a lot of people are just hurt by the church because, religious people and judgmental people, and, oh, you had a tattoo, or, oh, I don't like your skin color, or just all these different types of stuff that the body of Christ is just like falling short with, which, it's like there's grace, there's all that. But at the same time is the kingdom of heaven is like so attractive, and people that are like, I know people hate on vibes, and people who like are just seeking, like they're seeking spiritual stuff, but at the time they're just not, they're straying away from the church, but they're seeking spiritual stuff. And the kingdom, they're attracted to the kingdom because they feel the frequency, they feel the love. And yeah, I think those people come to the Father quicker than some of the religious people sometimes.
Yeah, and when they come out of relationship on the jump. So like, you know what I'm saying? So the way you come in, I think that's been really interesting when I have conversations with folks. It's like, depending on how they showed up into the kingdom makes such a difference in the trajectory of how they grow in their identity, in Christ. So which is always interesting. Now, I want to ask you about this, because would you consider yourself a visionary person, generally speaking? Like, are you someone who's always had big ideas, big thoughts, big dreams?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I definitely would say I'm like definitely a visionary. I call myself a visionary, a kingdom innovator. Like my brain is full of like million and billion dollar solutions. I just need a team to help me do them all. I have in my notepad, like probably 10, 15 like inventions, blueprints, ideas that I feel like are all at least million to like 100 million. Some are could be $1 billion if were done correctly, but I just don't have the capacity. And I'm like, and I don't think I need to chase everything, but right. I mean, I have 5 kids. So I'm like, hey, each one of the kids, you guys take this, you guys take this idea. Here's $1 million. Here's some team. Like you guys go run this one. If that's your gifting,
Oh, that's fun. I asked that because that's what I see in you. But I wanted to ask because I find it interesting how quick you were able to articulate enough vision for someone to grab hold of it and say, yeah, let's run with it. Even if it wasn't fancy, you had to have had enough to articulate. Like there was something going on in your heart where you could see beyond just the NFT. Like you were seeing a whole media culture, kingdom transformation and entertainment vision from the jump. And then even though you were looking at NFTs, the fact that you didn't only look at NFTs from the perspective of, hey, this is a great way to crowdfund for this media company, you saw the other economic opportunity in that. And so I was just like, I was just wondering if that's just how your mind works, just in general, because this is a big vision with a lot of facets to it, but yet there's already people who have just like, they caught it and you're already moving. And so because there's enough level of clarity around it, even though you don't know all the details, but you have enough vision around it and enough vision to articulate around it that people with resources were able to say, yes, I connect with that. This is like a dream for me to be involved in it and be able to put resources together and then help the speed in which you all move be more rapid.
Yeah. And that's something I think I've been asking God more for, is like, Lord, help me with more vision and more clarity. And that's something I've just been praying for a long time. Like, and even like the wisdom of like Solomon and like vision, like Nehemiah or Noah. And I just been hearing in these times, like it's a time to build, and like, don't worry about what the haters say. Don't worry about what other people think. It's time to build. And if you're going to build an ark, to me, this is like an ark for believers. This is the ark for, kingdom people and, kingdom economy. And it's like, I just been hearing that we need to collaborate more. We need to build community. We need to build our ecosystems. Like, the big banks, all the evil parts of the world, like you see all sorts of people shutting down people's bank accounts if they protest or if they don't like what the government's doing. And like, this Web3 is all about decentralized, owning our own personal finances, being able to share money, be able to build wealth together, and have like these decentralized finance products where we all put money together and it compounds interest. And, Albert Einstein said compounding interest is like the 8th wonder of the world. This whole this whole ecosystem is all about sharing wealth and building wealth together. So to me, even the non-believers in the NFT community, they get the whole idea of freedom, and they don't want to be like controlled by the banks and the jobs and the economies, and where they're just like feel like they're just trading all their time for little money, and it's not worth it to them.
Yeah, super good. Okay, question then. So you have 5 kids, lovely wife. So this has been moving relatively quick. So how was this for your wife? Like, you're going from consulting, now you're in NFTs, now you're doing NFT projects. Is she just used to this is just how you roll and you guys just flow like this, or what? Because I know some folks are like, yeah, I don't see how that dynamic could have worked in my household. So talk to me about that.
My wife is like a prophet. So she's already has like she threw me in the prophetic culture, and like where people are falling out. When I was like, not even like, I didn't even have a parameter for that. And so she threw me in that like prophetic world, like where people are getting prayed over words of knowledge, and like people are getting healed. Which, I mean, I obviously I read the Bible. I knew Jesus healed people, but I didn't know. No one showed me in the mega churches I was in Texas growing up. Like, nobody was doing that stuff. So I didn't know that stuff happened. I was there with like Jessica Simpson and like Tony Romo, the Dallas Cowboys. It was a good speech and inspiring, but I didn't know people were actually healing the sick and like praying over, prophesying. So anyway, so she brought me into that. So I'm like, ever since then, like, it's been a prophetic whirlwind. And this September will be 9 years married. So it's been a prophetic whirlwind of just like, hey, God told me to quit my software sales job and move to Wichita, Kansas. And she's like, oh, I feel God on it. We're moving. Like, quit your job. Like, I quit software sales job to come out here. I enrolled in Bethel School of Technology because God told me I was going to have a technology company. So I was like, well, I'm like Steve Jobs. I can cast the vision, but I need a Steve Wozniak. So I need to learn the foundations of what a Steve Wozniak, a coder, would do. So I enrolled in Bethel Technology, and guess what school they partnered with? Bethel Tech, Woz University.
What
and
university?
So like Woz University, which is Steve Wozniak's like coding school. Like, that's how God works. Like, he had me quit my software job because I was already in software sales, like learning with all the technology people, and I was in the sales team. And then I was just like, and all the coders, and I was like, God, we need to build like kingdom. And now we have our own, smart contracts and coding and blockchain, and we're building blockchain games where everything is on code.
Yes.
And so, but now I have a grace and a foundation because I sewed into a coding school, and like a supernatural coding school where it wasn't just about coding and learning from like the Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. It was about how do we use coding for the kingdom and build a Google or build a Twitter or build a Facebook, type tech company.
That's really awesome. So you have essentially been surrounded by people that are not looking at technology and conversations around crypto and all of those things as if, oh, this is some demonic thing. Like, you've been surrounded by people who see the redemptive opportunity in the midst of technology advancing and all of that, which I think is really good. Have you had to deal with any of that, or are you just so surrounded or so blinded to that you don't even see that conversation?
I get that a lot. Yeah, a lot of the church, but I share, and I just try to teach on more and share more, is that the reason why we've left arts and entertainment, technology, why we've just given up all the land and we've surrendered to our four walls, and even those are getting shut down during COVID because nobody's coming. The next generation isn't coming to church. Millennials aren't coming to church in big numbers, and so where are you going to reach these people? They're on technology, they're on these platforms, they're on these things, and these people, the celebrities, the technology companies, they have favor with our kids. We need to have favor with our kids. We need to have favor with the next generation. So if you're going to do that, you got to build cool applications and cool technology. You can't build some whack technology and expect them to want to go to your app over the other person's app, because so it's like I just say, look, if we're going to preach the gospel, reach all the people before Jesus comes and prepare the bride, like, we can't just surrender all the time. If we're going to be extra real warriors, and, the Bible talks all about, Joshua had to go in the land and slay giants. David had to slay giants to, keep the land, like all throughout the Bible, Gideon had to take 300 army and go like do mighty things, and he didn't even think he could do it. He was like, "Oh, woe is me! I'm the youngest of us." And that was how I felt. Like I always felt like I was like a Gideon, like woe is me! Like I'm the middle brother. My older brother is like an international speaker and best-selling author, and my little brother is like a prodigy musician. And I was like, I'm just like the goofy guy. Like I flunked out of college a few times. I finally got a business degree, but like I sucked at school my whole life. I thought I was dumb. And then God just, started to say, no, like you're a mighty man of valor. You're a leader. Like you're going to start speaking. And I was like, what? Like I have a stuttering problem, and God delivered me from that. Like, so God is just so good. And
He is.
And so I just try to share with people, like, look, like I get it. Like you don't want to associate, with non-believers. You don't want to associate with, these people. But I'm like, look, like we can't just forfeit all of the territory and expect us to take the land. Like that doesn't work. You have to do one or the other. You either have to take ground to take territory, or you have to, or you're forfeiting it. So it's like, and I don't know. I was in the military. I was an Army paratrooper, and so we took the ground by storm. We jumped out of the airplanes and would like go and just take that airfield or take wherever. And this is like obviously all practice jumps, but still it's training, and that's what we're doing in the kingdom. We're training for reigning. So if we're going to reign, you have to roll and reign over an area. A kingdom. And so my encouragement to believers is like, look, like we have to build, we have to bring the people together that can help us build the amazing technologies and things, like whether it's movies, books, games, I mean, anything that's out there, businesses, solutions, and heaven is full of solutions. And if we just apply some of those solutions and with kingdom principles, with just doing what you say what you're going to do, showing up, being consistent, and just doing some of these things. I mean, like we should be having, and there is a lot of use cases or a lot of cases where people are doing it. They're getting to the top of their industry by just applying kingdom principles and having the favor of God and stuff. But I think we just need more of it. We need more people catching the grace for it. And I think we need to take more territory and not less. I mean, you look at the problems all over the world, whether it's anywhere, it's corrupt leaders, it's corrupt politicians, it's corrupt business people, and it's like tearing up industries, tearing up countries. And I think we need more people, in places of like that are prospering, that can help in these situations. So
it's good stuff, man. It would be really fun to have a conversation with you like a year from now.
Yeah,
it would probably be rather incredible. So one last question. What's kind of the focus? You mentioned that there's a book in the works. Talk to me a little bit about, or whatever things that you could share publicly. If you're thinking about like the next 6 months, what's on the Kingdom Warriors focus?
So big focus, the book is being written. So that's kind of like our author, Jessica's is doing that. And so we don't have to focus too much on that. But right now the big focus is figuring out the play to earn game and how we're going to do the economics behind it. So just more prayer and clarity behind that, and writing it down, like getting it all mapped out. And then secondly, we are getting connected to some we've had some private investors investing in Kingdom Warriors, but we also, for what we want to do, we need more funds. So one of the things we're doing, we found out where God is favoring us with other projects who are getting like crypto VCs who basically, like, if you're the token you launch, they want like a portion of the 20% of that supply of the token, but they'll put in like 100K, like 50K, and they'll we can raise like some, like at least $500,000 just by them getting a portion of that. But in order to do that, we have to get this white paper like down, the tokenomics, the game down, like real. And then we have to, so that's really what we're doing this week, is getting a lot more clear on the game. How is this first game going to work? The second one, the third one, and then kind of like mapping it out, writing it down, getting it to a graphic designer to make it look really good. And then starting getting some crypto VCs to really like be able to put funds in for some of the tokens, and then really go to the next level, because some of these crypto VCs, they can help us with things like legal things, like because to even launch a real token, like they need to do it offshore because U.S. laws are weird on like launching a real unsecured license, registered registered security. So we need to like launch our crypto token from a certain place and legally have it. So there's a lot of things that's what we need funding for. So just praying for that and clarity for that, and God giving the right people for that stuff.
Nice. And that would be your own cryptocurrency that then people within that game that people could then translate to their local currency.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think usually you sometimes have to if it's on a platform like a centralized trading platform, they could just sell it and then they can have it in their local currency. But then sometimes in the beginning of some of these tokens, you have to change it to Ethereum. In Ethereum, you can cash out.
Right.
So
okay.
You have to swap
all of this is still
currency.
under development. It's still moving and growing and being adopted, and okay, that's good stuff. Well, this is really good. For those listening, Eric said that on the front end. Yes, I did become a Kingdom Warrior. I was so compelled by the vision of what this thing was. I was like, hey, I've never ever considered buying an NFT before, but hey, I really love what you're doing and help me understand what I'm doing here. But I could see that there was a crowdfunding thing happening in the midst of this. So I wanted to be a part of what you guys were doing. So anyway, so we signed up. So Eric, you have like it's like a course that kind of breaks down some of the basics around NFTs and also shares a bit more around Kingdom Warriors. I signed up as an affiliate for that. If you guys want information around that, it's kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com/warriors. But when they go there, what do they get, Eric?
Yeah. So if you hear me kind of being like a visionary. I paint pictures on like what, because the way I learn is like, it's through like it has to make sense and click in my brain, but some people don't do that. So one of our partners, who's worked with like events and speaking events with Chick-fil-A and Atlanta Falcons, his name is Sean Specie. He made a course for us to give to just to give value to people, because we want to onboard and be like an onboarding place where people understand, and we make it real simple. So he has like a course called Web3 Simplified, and it's like all the foundations, all the terminology, everything just broken down and really like teacher style, easy to digest, not like big vision, Eric, like
so easy that a fifth grader or a third grader can understand it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so that's his gifting. And so we're glad that he's on our team helping us make it, so you'll get that free course, with Shay's link. And then you'll also be able to hear a 2-hour like vision of basically like everything God has done. Kind of like really what we just talked about today,
Yeah.
But there's we just added that to the last part of the course. I recorded it like a 2-hour, just like pouring my heart out of like all of basically this whole journey, like my journey growing up, and then also how God led us to here, and just why I believe this is, going to be so big, and just why we're just excited for that. God is having people like Shay and other people partner with Kingdom Warriors to be their first NFT. People are like, Eric, I don't know, like I don't know anything about NFTs, but I'm supposed to get these NFTs, and like, and it's just,
I'm like, I know amazing. Crypto. I know enough about. I've been, I know crypto. This NFT stuff. You're like non-fungible token. I don't know anything about that, bro. But I love what you're doing.
Exactly, it's so awesome.
I'll learn as I go.
Exactly, and that's something, that's something I like to encourage people. It's like faith looks like risk, and sometimes you got to just take a little bit of risk, and to do anything for the kingdom, like great. I think you have to learn to get comfortable, like with rejection and with risk, and just stepping out and growing wings on the way when you're flying down. If God says to go pray for someone or go prophesy over someone, like it's when you open your mouth when He starts giving you the words to say. You don't have all the words to say right when you're, right when He says, "Hey, go talk to that person."
Yeah, so good. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining me today. Super good to hear. I learned more about your story today, and I think that a lot of people listening would be inspired by just the willingness to take action, just to keep moving on just those promptings as you're going along. And as you're moving, as you're exploring, as you're digging, as you're researching, all of those things, allowing God to continue to unveil and open doors as you walk it out. So thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Shay. You're amazing. And thanks, Kingdom Driven Entrepreneurship Podcast. Y'all are amazing.
Such an interesting chat with Eric Skeldon in just this area that, God's up to interesting things out here. So it was a really cool conversation with Eric. Phil, what's going on, sir?
All is well, my love.
So do you feel like you understand NFTs a little bit more? this crypto world, all this new stuff going on?
I have a little bit more understanding, but I probably need to go in and take a listen to that to the thing that they have prepared to help us understand a little bit better.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right. So, what are your takeaways from this conversation?
Well, the first one I have here is explore the areas where God is highlighting for you, because there is treasure in those fields. And that's kind of a play off of Matthew 13:44. The kingdom of heaven is like a field, where you can find the treasure, right? So that is it's so good, because like when you're exploring whatever God is highlighting, there's a reason he's highlighting it in your life.
Yeah.
And, there's something in your design that he's trying to also highlight for you. And so just take the time to explore the things that he's pointing out, and you'll find some treasure in that.
That's really good. And I could actually see that and how that's played out in your life. So you're visionary. It's like I was talking to Eric about, being visionary when you have all kinds of ideas and thoughts, and just kind of, it was funny to talk to him and hear how he explores and what that looks like. Cause I was listening to him and thinking, this reminds me a lot about, about Mr. Bynes too.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
And the good part about that is it flows into the second point I have here, which is present the vision, because God has already been working on the resources behind the scenes. So as a visionary type person, he has the freedom to think through all these different thoughts that he has and explore them, right? And in due time, he will be presented with resources, or people. God will bring people on the scene that are resources that can help him bring those visions to fruition, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't have to worry about the fact that, I have all these ideas and I don't know how to implement all these things, right? In due time, God will make sure that the resources are in place. He's working on it behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have it right now, that's because you don't have to absolutely have it right now, because you have what you need.
Mm-hmm. And that flows into my third point. They're all connected, right? Focus on what you do well. Collaboration is designed to help take care of your weak spots. So if you're focusing on what you do well, God will help take care of those blind spots that you have, those things that you don't do well. He'll send opportunities of collaboration, right? And it reminds me of the scripture that says that, my strength is made perfect in weakness, or your weakness, and it's so true. We don't have to worry about our weak points. Matter of fact, our weakness is to our benefit, because then that allows us to have places where God can show his strength, right? And send people that are the strength to our weaknesses. So,
yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of this unfolds. This was one of those conversations where I'm like, this will be really interesting to talk to you in another year or two. Mm-hmm. So this is good stuff. Hey, everyone listening here, we have these things called e-talks, expansion talks, where Phil, Latara, our director of culture, I believe other members of Team KDE over time, are leading these conversations on Fridays with the community. And if you are not aware of these, or you haven't joined in, I want to encourage you to really connect with us at kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com/connect, and make sure that you get those invitations and join there. You guys are doing it on Zoom. And then after you guys do that on Zoom, we do share that. I'm talking to you, Phil. We do take that. We do take that recording and make sure to share it here in the podcast feed. But I'm curious, some of your thoughts, Phil, on I'd love to hear your perspective on e-talks, these expansion talks.
Well, for me, it's another way to extend the heart of the movement to the community. Like it's a chance to talk a little bit deeper on some of these thoughts, some of the things that we're seeing, and getting feedback from the people real time on if it's hitting home or not. Does that make sense? Are we talking crazy? All these different things. We get to come together as community and go a little deeper on these topic points that God is bringing forward. And so far, it's been interesting because, like, I don't think about this stuff in advance. What am I going to talk about next? A lot of times, what winds up happening, God speaks to me a lot through dreams. Or as soon as I wake up out of a dream, I'm sitting there pondering on the dream I had, and then He begins to unravel, some meaning behind the dream or some thoughts, right? And then all the time they wind up connecting. One point begins to connect to the next thing that I'm talking about. The next thing connects to the next thing. And at the end of the experience, I look back and I'm like, oh, I see what you did there, Lord. We had to deal with these different aspects. And so it's been cool kind of doing that. And we invite more people to the table because, hey, it's not just about an echo chamber. We want to make sure that if we're not thinking about stuff in a light that is revealing all the goodness of God, that someone's bringing something out that will help us to unravel that. And so you're formally invited to the expansion talks.
Yeah, good stuff. And now this particular Friday coming up, I actually get an opportunity to share. So we're doing something a little bit different this Friday on the 22nd, but I'm really looking forward to sharing with the community, getting my opportunity to do that with the community via Zoom. And so I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be good stuff. So again, go to kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com/connect, because that's going to connect you with our rapid fires. It'll connect you with, our podcast notifications, other information we're sending out, as well as the invitations to join live on these e-talks and the webinars that we're doing. So make sure you are plugged in. I think that's it, at least for me. Anything else on your end, Phil?
Yeah, the time is far spent, so I have nothing to say.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to talking to you more next week on the next episode of the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. Take care and God bless.
Thanks for joining us on the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we encourage you to subscribe and spread the word. And don't forget, you can gain access to even more resources, plus a thriving community of fire starters by visiting our website at kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com.